Right, well. It feels sort of bittersweet this because on one hand I'm absolutely gutted that I am currently missing the Abu Dhabi Grand Prix, even though Lando Norris is probably going to win the World Championship, so I'm not too bothered about missing that. If I've not seen it, then it doesn't count. I'll pretend it never happened, and Max Verstappen is still my world champion. But nonetheless, hello, welcome back to the stream. One of the most interesting streams that we've done pre-game ever on this channel, because I don't know what to expect from today. The lineup is out, and Wilfred Nancy has announced his first ever starting 11 as Celtic manager, without us really knowing what that's going to entail. This on screen is my interpretation of it. I don't know if I'm right. I could be miles off it here. This is my interpretation of it. Christ, even the Celtic graphics person, the starting 11 graphic designer, he doesn't even know because he's put the squad in numerical order, which is just murder altogether. But Wilfred Nancy has named his first Celtic starting 11, and it is very, very interesting. I am excited, I am nervous, and I seen somebody saying it in the chat, and I'll nick their wording of it. I think it was Aiden, I believe. Straight in with the new formation against the team top of the league. What a set of balls on the guy, I tell you that. I've been saying it all week. I would be stunned if he goes all in on his own formation, on his own style, on game one. With the short turnaround, only taking charge of his first training session on Thursday, and even at that, it was probably half a training session because they spent half the time filming him, introducing himself to everybody. I wasn't expecting this, especially against Hearts. I thought he'd maybe go safe and just try and do a back four, and he might. There is nothing to suggest that there isn't a way that this turns into a back four, but I really doubt that, because if you've looked at the starting 11, if you look at the one that Celtic have put on their social media, there isn't a right back in sight. There isn't one in sight. You've got Scales, Trusty, Tierney, and in terms of defenders, that's it. So unless he's deciding to shoehorn Engels into right back or something like that, then it looks pretty set to me that we are seeing the birth of the 3-4-2-1 at Celtic, or the 3-4-3, or however he decides to set it up this afternoon. There is a number of different ways that it can be deployed, and we're in. It's it's not Football Manager, it's not FIFA, it's not career mode. There's flexibility, and when we get the charts back at the end of the game showing the average shape of the team and stuff like that, I'm sure we'll see a couple of variations in possession, out of possession. I'm sure we'll see it change as games go by and depending on the opponent. There was something very, very important that Wilfred Nancy came out and said in his first press conference, and it's not about the name of the team we're playing, it's about the system, and it's about the way they play football that defines them. So if he's as adaptable as we hope he is, and if he was sounding like he was willing to adapt, and he was going to say he said all these great things on Thursday, if he comes out and he says that sort of thing, then I'm expecting we'll see different adaptations of this sort of starting 11 over the next month. And then hopefully in January when he brings on his own players, because I will be completely honest, this team I am excited about, I like the look of, bar when we get into the wide areas. I do not like the idea of Yang and Tenekte being wing backs for Celtic. I'm going to be completely honest about that. But what I'm hoping is that they do a job between now and the January transfer window. January comes round, Wilfred gets his own players, and when we're looking at this shape, we're looking at a shape that's far better, far more reliable, and one that will be up to the standards of what Wilfred Nancy will demand at this football club. So on that note, the starting 11 for Celtic today as follows, in what I would say is positional order. Can I just stress, this is my own interpretation of the starting 11 today. There is no guarantees that Tierney's at left centre back. There is no guarantees that Yang and Tenekte are the wing backs. There's no guarantees that Rio Hatate will be far more advanced up the pitch. Nobody actually knows. Nobody knows, and we won't know until we see the game begin. But Schmeichel, with a back three of Trusty, Scales and Tierney, is how I would imagine. That midfield with the four kind of base players of Yang and Tenekte as wing-backs, McGregor and Engels being the two deeper central midfielders, Nygren and Hatate being the more advanced attacking midfielders, and Dyson Maeda up front. That is what I imagine the Celtic team will be. Now, Celtic have named it as follows in numerical order, just for clarification for those working or watching at home. Kasper Schmeichel, Liam Scales, Austin Trusty, Benji Nigrin, Yang, Tenekte, Engels, Maeda, Hatate, McGregor and Tierney. So that is the numerical order that the club have released the team in. And listen, it's unpredictable. And I like it. Do you know what? Honestly, all week I've been saying that like, you know, I expect him to play safe. I expect him to maybe be more reserved and deploying his, you know, his own thoughts and his own philosophies. But now that we're here and now that I see the team on paper, I'm excited about it. And I'm glad that he's doing it because there's really no point in holding off. If it works today, great. We're off to a fantastic start. We have a lot to be confident, a lot to be optimistic about moving forward. If it doesn't work today, and if Celtic fail to win against Hearts, unless you lose badly, it's not the end. And this is the one thing I think I want to stress in this match preview. It's not the end of the world if Celtic don't win today. It's not the end of the world if Wilfred Nancy doesn't win his first game. Now, of course, if Hearts somehow come to Celtic Park and beat us 4-5-0 and we're embarrassed, then okay, there'll be a bit of head scratching. Is that going to happen? I think there's a better chance of pigs taking flight. But if we lose 1-0 and we play well enough in the game and Hearts get a result when we're deploying our new system for the first time, it's not the end of the world. We have a game in hand over them. We've got time to figure this out. We've got time to understand what works and what doesn't work. Ultimately, I would rather Wilfred Nancy found that out sooner rather than later. And as I've said a million times over this past week, and I will stick to this point consistently, like, I want him to know going into January who he likes, who he doesn't like, who will work where, and who won't work where. I want him to know that for January 1st. I'm not saying I'm expecting him to have signings lined up the door that they arrive, fucking the Huckman the bells go, Robbie Burns is done, and fucking here comes all the new Celtic signings. I don't expect it to be like that. But what I do hope is that he has a good idea going into that window, right? I need this position, I need that position. I've got him in mind here, I've got him in mind there. I don't want him, I'm going to get rid of him. I want him to have all these kind of thoughts going through his head come January 1st. And the only real way he's going to be able to do that assessment, the only way that he's going to be able to do it effectively, is by deploying his tactics sooner rather than later. So I am nervously excited for this afternoon's game, and who knows, maybe it'll be like prime Lenny Ball in early 2020. You know, maybe it'll be like that. I am buzzing to see how it all works and how it all comes together. It'll be an interesting afternoon, and hopefully we're all perfectly normal about it afterwards. Even if we don't win the game this afternoon. But I'm expecting us to win, and I think Wilfred Nancy, brother Wilfred, will get off to a good start. We're going to come to the chat. I'm going to come to your questions, but let me just do a couple of bits of housekeeping first. Number one, if you haven't already, make sure to hit like and subscribe. We've got over 500 live viewers. There will be a match reaction at some point this evening. Bear with me, because after this stream, I'll be heading to the garage for commentary on ICW. I'm not at the game today. That's why we've got a very rare home reaction stream to the lineup. I would never typically do this because I'd be on my way to Celtic Park right now. I'm not going. I'm on commentary for ICW, so the match reaction might be a little bit later with the signal and stuff in the garage and the time it takes me to edit on a mobile phone, etc. Number two, the substitutions for Celtic this afternoon. Vinny Sansalo, Balak Wisha, Luke McCowan, Iheanacho, Kenny, Bernardo, Murray, Donovan and Ralston. So that is the bench for Celtic, as you would pretty much expect. Two strikers on there, two right backs on there. If things aren't working early days, and I mean like by half-time, if there's evidence that this is maybe too soon for the Celtic team and this squad that we currently have, which isn't up to standard, there's always a chance at half-time you could, you know, take somebody off, move things about and go back to like a 4-3-3 or something like that. So hopefully we don't need to do that. I want to see this play throughout the 90 minutes. And finally, the only last bit of housekeeping I have to do before I turn to your questions and before I hear what you all have to say, let's have a look at the Hearts starting 11, shall we? Because that is probably something as well that you are here for. They are also in numerical order, and I'm not going to be putting up a graphic of my interpretation of it. Schwolau in goals, Halkett, Shankland, Braga, Devlin, Steinwender, Milne, Finlay, Magnuson, McEntee, and Kazardis. That is the team for Hearts. You will notice that that is a team that I think is in a similar shape to how they beat us at Tynecastle a couple of weeks ago or whatever. But yeah, that's the team. That is the team for them today. Braga, of course, the man on everybody's lips, the chant in everybody's mind. Can we block him and Kazardis out? We'll wait and see, but that's the Hearts starting 11 this afternoon. Right, let's fly. How's anybody got how the Formula One's gone? Have we got any hope? Any hope? That's the wrong. Why I always do this. I always remind us that Ajax beat us 5-1 in pre-season. I always like to do that, don't I? I think there's a couple. I think there's an interesting point with this shape to maybe put Tierney over to the right hand side of the back three, because we are playing a back three of three left footers. I don't. Has that ever been done in the history of football? I mean, what are the odds? Some teams struggle to find good left footed centre halves, and we have three playing in the same start. I mean, I'm not saying they're all three good centre halves or whatever, but like we have three left footed centre halves. So yeah, that's that. We'll wait and see how that goes. I wouldn't be opposed to switching Tierney over to the right of it, maybe keeping Trusty in the middle and moving Scales over to the left-hand side, just because when we are maybe out of possession and you want Tierney to maybe come over and help Yang in the right-hand side, he's certainly a more natural right-sided defender. He's done it for Scotland. He came on and scored the goal for Scotland at right-back, so I think that you could potentially do that. There's a couple of things that will happen. As I said, big brackets in the starting 11. Maybe this is how it looks. I'm not entirely sure. So let's get your questions. Let's go for 15 minutes of questions and answers, and find out what you're all saying, and find out what you're all thinking. This is like Derby in terms of nerves. God's sake, Connor, I mean, I'm excitedly nervous, but I wouldn't say I'm at a Derby level of nerves. I don't get nervous before derbies. What's the point in being nervous for a game you're always favourites for? You know, I don't feel that. But no, listen, I think it's a very, very weird afternoon in general. Switching managers mid-season, every fan has the right to be nervous if they are. We don't know what to expect, and I think that's exciting. And as Kay Sanson said, some amount of balls on brother Wilfred this afternoon. I mean, imagine we go out there and we pump Hearts, which I'm not saying it's going to happen before any Hearts fans watching decide they're going to clip that after today's stream. But imagine we did. Like, what a start that would be for Nancy to deploy a system and have an immediate impact like that. It would be marvellous. So I'm hoping that's the case. I just want entertainment. Celtic have lacked entertainment. They've lacked entertainment all season. You've seen us on Wednesday night. We were terrible. We've grinded out results, which is first and foremost the most important thing. But I want the entertainment value to return to Celtic. And I firmly believe that Wilfred Nancy can do that. So that's what I'm kind of hoping for as this next month unravels at the club. Thank you, Mark, for your channel membership loyalty, brother. I feel like we have more of a chance of winning if you put a hat on. I know it's weird that I don't have a hat on, actually, but it's because I don't want to give myself hat hair. I'm on commentary tonight. I'm in front of the cameras. I'm streaming live on Triller Plus. We start at 7:30. If you've got a Triller membership, get involved. It's ICW Fear and Loathing. It's the biggest show of the year. I was there when I was 16 in the Hydro. 2 years back to back. It's the biggest show in British wrestling. I'm on the commentary headset with Billy tonight. 7:30 start. Be there or be square. And you can listen to me talk some more nonsense, but this time about wrestling. There's a wee advert. Thanks, Mark, for lining that up pretty well for me. Let's see. The left wings and right wings, or the wing backs, are meant to stay high, says Mackenzie. Yeah, by all accounts, it does sound like that. I think that it will be interesting to see how that works when, once again, I'm using the phrases out of possession a lot of times, but when we do lose the ball, when Hearts have the ball, how will the team start to shape up? Will Tierney and Scales be expected to maybe go out wide, or whoever it is on those sides of the centre-half positions? I don't know. Wait and see, because it does leave you think, you know, you have the opportunity of Engels and McGregor dropping back to congest the middle a little bit more. You can probably afford to let them go out a bit wider, leave Yang and Tenekti higher up the park, but we'll wait and see. We'll wait and see what happens. How long till you shave it off, Ryan? I did it recently. I feel manly. I'm holding on for dear life, to be honest, wild man. Kieran saying there was me thinking that Nancy was going to drop feed the team. First day, he's changed the whole gaff. I mean, listen. It's a way. If I had a gun to my head and I wanted to do it a certain way, it would be like that. There's no point in hiding. There's no point in running away from the challenge. If you're a manager that firmly believes in what you do, you go for it for the start. You don't hide about it. You don't be a shite bag about it. And there's been a few managers in the city of Glasgow who have been shite bags in the last few years, and I'm hoping that Wilfred Nancy's not one of them, and it doesn't look as though it's going to be that from the start. If we look at the lineup, ask Dorito Dave, what a name, Dorito Dave. If we look at the lineup, what are the areas we need to strengthen the most to fit the system? I mean, you look at the wings straight away, 100%. You're looking there. I think that we need good right-footed centre halves as well, just to add into there. But the wings is, you go there. And we're going to need a forward if Maeda leaves as well. We're going to need a striker. We're going to need a centre forward. So I think you're automatically talking about those creative players that you're going to need to kind of go in and make a big difference to this team. So, aye. Man's got boys. A lot of talk about Nancy's boys in this stream. Big boys. Might just be Engels at right back. Think he's played there before. I said that at the top of the stream, Con. I mean, there's every opportunity. We're all getting excited about this 3-4-2-1, and it's actually Engels being shoehorned into right back. But I really don't see it. Like, there's a chance, but I just don't see it. I don't see why he would do that when he's got two right backs who aren't exactly amazing, but he has two right backs there that he could play. Conan says, honestly, everyone has had an opinion, but it'll be interesting to see how this goes today. It's game 1. We can give him a couple of months to gauge from that. This season has been insane. Absolutely. Where will Jota fit in this formation? Well, I think you've got a couple of options for Jota when he's back. You could maybe put him in one of the more advanced attacking midfielders positions and let him float wide. Or you could go all out and play him at that wing-back position. I guess you've got a couple of options there with that, but I mean, we don't need to worry about that till late February, early March time, so there's no point getting kind of dragged into that right now. Mac saying that I've got full faith in Nancy's ability, however, can't see him reunifying the club. I mean, what extent of reunifying are we talking here? Because I don't think it's Wilfred Nancy's job to reunify the fans' broken relationship with the board. I don't think that should be on, and that shouldn't be on the responsibility list of any manager. You know, this Celtic board have dug their own grave. They've made it their own situation. It's not Wilfred Nancy's job to fix that. Wilfred Nancy's job is to get the team playing well and to get us to back the team and to back the players and back him. The reunification of the supporters is something that is completely out with his job description. And I will not put any sort of expectation on him to help cure that. That's on the Celtic board, not on Wilfred Nancy. Let's see, Mindful Melody's going down the more pessimistic route, saying this isn't brave or ballsy, it's being unable to adapt from his preferred system, even though the squad doesn't suit the system. Which, fair enough, that's a perfectly acceptable opinion. I can see where you're coming from in that when we talk about adapting and all the rest of it. But is there also an argument to counter that and to play devil's advocate to that? The system hasn't been working. And I don't care what anybody says, it wasn't working under Martin O'Neill either. We were grinding out results. We were ugly. We were really, really poor. We were poor on Wednesday against Stephen Presley's Dundee. We had to score a 90th minute winner against St Mirren at Love Street. We had to crawl over the line against Hibs at Easter Road. The system has been really poor altogether. It's been really bad. So I know what we're saying, it's a failure to adapt. But what is Wilfred Nancy actually meant to adapt to? Because whatever we've been doing all season hasn't been working with 4 at the back. We have been terrible to watch. 99% of the season. So, just to play devil's advocate, I don't think that we have a right to suggest that, he's not adapting. Because now it's maybe time to fix what's been broken. The famous saying is, if it's no broke, don't fix it. Well, we are broke. We have been all season. We've been really broke. So, in my opinion, I don't think that there's much of a problem about having to adapt to 4 at the back when we haven't got a squad that's good enough to play really any formation. That's just my own opinion. But I think it's perfectly fair to look at it that way if you want to, that is. I mean, AJ saying that 3-4-2-1 does mean better and more rotations. The math is more interesting. Engels can play centre mid or right mid. McGregor can play as an attacking midfielder, a defensive midfielder. And when Jota comes back, he could play in a number of different positions. And I think that's if you're into the statistics of the game and you're into the tactical nuance of it all, it's an absolutely perfect way to look at it. When you listen to Wilfred Nancy's first press conference, when he's coming out and saying, I want all of my players to play a minimum of 2 positions, then this is certainly a system that, as you've said, the maths, and I'm not a maths guy, I failed higher maths, I'm not a maths guy, but it does make a lot of sense. It makes a lot of sense. You know, we go out there, we have a system where we can move people about, there's different rotations, and you can change things on a bit of a whim, and maybe that mathematically makes a lot of sense if you look at things like that. I'm more of a watch football with my eyes kind of guy and see what works and what doesn't work rather than doing the maths of it all, but it's certainly a really valid opinion. Quinny, it's good to see you in the chat, my man. How are you doing? Legend, as always. Good to see you. You must be excited for today. I have seen the videos of the fan march. Well, 1 or 2, I think, and it looked great. I seen it arriving at Celtic Park, and It's good to see so many supporters taking part. Can I think of a name? Acknowledge me, Ryan. There you go. You want that? You want that? I think we'll start to see high-scoring games quite frequently now. I just want to address a comment. I seen something like Green Man saying, you're talking pish, Martin O'Neill was excellent. Of course Martin O'Neill was excellent. He came in, he won every domestic game. What a record. I'm not disputing that he was excellent. I'm saying that the team was still brutal to watch. And it was. Bar maybe like the Feyenoord game and the Falkirk game, who we already scudded earlier in the season. Were we an enjoyable watch these last few games? No, really. But he done his job, and he deserves a hell of a lot of flowers for it, because I don't think many managers would have been able to grind out the results. That's the difference. It didn't matter about playing entertaining football under Martin O'Neill. What mattered was steadying the ship and winning games. But I'm not going to sit and tell you bold-faced lies that we were a great watch. Dundee on Wednesday night was one of the poorest games I've seen in the flesh. It was really bad. We were murder. But it didn't matter, because it was all about winning. What the performances matter from now with a new manager. Maybe a couple of months of leeway, of course. But I'm not going to tell bold-faced lies. I'm just not, because that's not my job. My job is to come on here and talk with honesty. So I hope Martin O'Neill's watching today, though, and I hope he has a great time. Graham, thank you for the donation, my man. I appreciate that. $9.99 and a super sticker. Is that like a blue pair rolling and side to side laughing? Can't really tell. Ryan, in the 3-4-2-1, every player has at least 2 or more good positions. In the 4-3-3, it is much lower, and most players have only played 1 good position. Yeah, it's true. I mean, look, like you used the example of McGregor. Look at McGregor in here. He can play in 2 positions. He can play as that deeper centre mid. He can play as the advanced midfielder. Maeda can play striker. He can play over at the left wing back. Hatate can play more deeper if he has to. Or he can play more advanced. Nygren can move it to the right hand side, or he can play as an advanced midfielder. I mean, the only ones that can't really, Yang. Never seen him play anywhere else. Maybe on the left if you want, but that's the maths does add up. As Norris, how many laps are left in the F1? Am I going to catch any of the end? Has anybody actually drove right through Lando yet? Because that would be appreciated. I don't know how many laps are left, and I'm a little bit worried about that. Right, let's keep the questions coming. Is Sriracha on the bench? No, he's not. He's injured. He's not on the bench this afternoon. If you want to watch ICW tonight, it's live on Triller Plus. It used to be called Fight TV. It's been renamed. Triller Plus, 7:30 start. 6 or 7 laps left. Well, looks as Orlando's going to win it. Which is a sad day for every fan of motorsport. If you're a Lando fan in here, sorry, but it's a sad day for motorsport. It really is. 5 laps left. Right. Well, on that note, I'm going to go. I want to watch the final part of this race in case something mad happens. So there you go. That's it. I'll be back with a match reaction at some point tonight. Keep in mind, it might be quite delayed, but I will be there. So thank you to everybody in there. Thank you to Quiddy for being in there as well. Good man. I like your tactical analysis of things. You're much better than me. And thank you to everybody else who has been watching. Enjoy the game. Let's get behind Wilfred Nancy. It's the start of a new era, and I am very, very excited. Until tonight, take care, and I'll see you all